live from the Coachella Valley. Time for another hour of the desert scene. Art exhibitions to modernism, music festivals to live theater, big screen, little screen, and very little screen. This is the Culture Corner with Bonnie Gilgallon and Brayan Mendoza. Here's Bonnie and Brayan on iHub Radio.
And we're back on the Culture Corner, and I'm now so excited to welcome to our show my buddy Kitty Murray Willensky, who is doing I can't wait to see this. I'm sure going to be, you think it's hot outside. I think this show's going to be hot too, with Siobhan Velarde, who's Pat, my bosom buddy, called Hell on Heels at Runway. Hey Kitty, how are you?
I'm good, honey. How are you?
Good. So are you guys all ready?
Well, we're as ready as we can be at this point. We better be, but who knows? So
tell people, give people a feel of what the show is going to be like.
Well, we run the gamut as far as genres of music. You know, we do so much. I'm more of the jazz big band, and she's more of the show tune, and then we've got a little naughty but nice tunes in there, and we do several costume changes, and we do have a choreographer, Joe Jamalva, who I worked with years ago, and he's helping us with some choreography. So it's kind of a full gamut of everything, you know.
So I know you've had a long career. Tell us a little bit about your start. Where are you from originally? I don't even know that.
I was born in Hollywood, California, and raised in L.A.
Okay, all right. So you started young?
I started singing and dancing right out of high school on the Tomorrowland stage at Disneyland.
Okay.
And then from there, I went right into Las Vegas, and I performed at the Frontier Hotel with Phil Harris and Harry James.
Wow.
Desert Inn with Frankie Avalon and Kay Ballard. Toured with Engelbert Humperdinck for 7 months.
Wow.
Tom Jones for 5 months.
Oh, my God. I'm so envious of that. I love Tom Jones. Oh, my gosh.
A USO tour with Bob Hope. We did a lot of television. We worked with Bobby Darin. I mean, we worked with so many people back in the day, you know, when Vegas was just the one strip.
Yeah, yeah.
But it was just so much fun. And, you know, we were so young back then that it was like, okay, this is our job, da-da-da-da-da. We weren't really thinking about what we were really doing, you know.
Yeah.
And so, anyway, it was fun.
Now, did you have support from your family? Was your whole family showbiz oriented, or did they support this? You're going down this road?
My mother and father were both singers, and they had a quartet in the Army. They were both in the Army. So, of course, they were totally behind me.
Excellent.
Totally. They went to every performance I ever performed where they could go.
Wow. Now, do you have siblings? Are they performers also?
I have 2 sisters. I'm the middle, and no, they don't perform.
I'm the middle, too. Interesting. I think there's a lot of middle kids who are performers because sometimes you get lost in the shuffle and you want some more attention, and being on stage gets you there. So, so tell me about you. Did you also study acting, singing, dancing along the way?
All the time, yes. I started young, and we worked with the best choreographers, the best arrangers. We were so fortunate to have the best of the best, and we worked, you know, all over the world.
Yeah.
All over the world. And again, we were just young, and we were very fortunate.
You got to tell me a little about Tom Jones. I just adore Tom Jones. I just think he's very hot. Even however old he's now, 70, whatever it is. There's a lot of women that agree with me. I mean, was he fun to work with?
Oh, he was a complete doll.
Yeah.
And he's very humble and shy.
Okay.
And he would go on stage, and he would just sing from his toes.
Yeah.
And he'd be a wet rag when he was done, and they'd just whisk him off stage and throw him in the shower.
Wow, wow.
I mean, but he was the nicest guy.
Yeah.
Just the nicest.
How about Bob Hope? What was he like to work with?
I loved Bob Hope when I found out we were touring with him, because I always watched him as a kid.
Yeah.
And I was so excited to work with him, and he was a dream.
Yeah.
I mean, we were so fortunate to work with really nice people.
Yeah. So I mean, you've somebody that was born in Hollywood, California, grew up in LA, did all this, but you don't have to name names unless you want to. But I mean, I'm sure you would have run into people along the way occasionally who weren't so much fun to work with. I'm guessing.
You know what? There were 2 that I can think of, and I can name names because they're not here anymore.
Okay, sure. All right, then
you
that's
fine. You want me to name names?
Sure.
we worked with Marty Allen.
Okay.
And did a whole big show with him, and he wasn't the greatest.
Okay.
And Diane Carroll. Diane Carroll was not nice to us. We had the same manager, the group that I was with, and he brought her into the Playboy Club in Century City to see us.
Mm-hmm.
And she was just awful.
I'm so disappointed to hear that.
And then we did a television show with her, and she was the same way.
Oh my goodness! Because I once interviewed her on the radio a few years back. Yeah, before she passed. I am so disappointed to hear that.
Well, we were disappointed because we didn't do anything.
Yeah.
Just nice to us for some reason.
So tell me about your personal style as a performer. How would you describe that?
I think because I grew up with big band and harmony, really close harmony, and jazz, that's my style. Although I love singing all of it. I mean, I've sung all of it, but I always kind of, lean towards that because that was playing throughout my house when I was a little girl.
Yeah, me too. Yeah.
So that's kind of that's my soul, I think.
Mm-hmm. A couple of questions I always like to ask because I've had so many performers, so many singers on this show. Who do you like to listen to when you have time off? Who do you like to listen to? Who inspires you?
Oh my gosh, there's so many people that you probably haven't even heard of. Well, I love Bobby Caldwell. You've heard of him. He's one of my favorites. We've seen him so many times. I love this gal named Marilyn Scott. She's this great
I know who she is. Oh, she's fabulous.
I love her.
Yeah.
I just love her.
Yeah.
And of course, Ella Fitzgerald and, all those wonderful people. I mean, there's so many great singers.
Yeah.
So many great singers. It's hard to just pinpoint one for me.
Yeah.
Because I enjoy so many of them.
I love to ask this question, do you have any rituals, lucky earrings, lucky socks, or, prayer that you say before? Do you have any rituals that you do before a performance?
We used to say merde, and that was French for,
I know what. Yes, I know what is French
for some reason, that meant good luck.
Really? Okay.
It did. I mean, we'd all hold hands and we'd say merde. But now I just, I just think about, I'm going on there and doing a good job. And it's just, as you get older, it's different.
Yeah. Couple other questions. First of all, when you go to say, I know it's been a pandemic and people haven't been out that much, but when you have a time off, a day off, and you go see someone else, when you go see another performer, another singer in particular, what do you want to see? What do you look for in a performance from another singer?
You know what I really prefer, and I mean, I've seen some fabulous singers, but I really want to see an all-around performance. In other words, I just don't want you to see you stand up there and sing. I want to see you perform, and I've always liked that better. Yeah. Not to say that watching somebody that you love singing is a bad thing. No, it's a great thing. But for me, I want to be entertained completely. Yes, yeah. So, you feel like they're reaching the audience. They're giving you a piece of their soul, and you know them a little bit better. Yeah. Yeah. What is your feeling? I love hearing the answer to this. Some people feel very strongly about it. What is your feeling about singers who occasionally close their eyes when they sing? I don't have a problem with that. I think that they're feeling it, unless they just never open their eyes. Then I think there's a problem. I think the problem. Some people do it because they're nervous and they want to block out the audience, and then that's a problem because you're not connecting. But I think, if you're in the middle of a song and you're really feeling something intensely and emotionally, I think it's okay. I mean, I've had some people who said, "No, don't ever do it. Don't ever do it." But I think it's okay now and then. Oh, it's okay, of course. Yeah. Yeah. Have you ever had a really bad gaffe or embarrassing moment on stage that you want to talk about? I have, honey, and it was on the Sahara stage. It was the lounge, and there was a bar between the stage and the audience. Mm-hmm. And I was wearing a bare midriff costume way back when. Yeah. And I'm going to tell you this. I had socks stuffed in my bra because I wanted to make my chest look bigger. Okay. See, unlike you. You're a lucky girl. But I wasn't so lucky. So anyway, I had the socks in my top, and the guys in the group leaned on me, and my top broke. And I grabbed my chest, and I ran off stage.
Oh, my
and
gosh.
Everybody just laughed.
Yeah.
Just laughed. And, of course, Wendy had to come off stage and help me because she had to pin me up.
Yeah.
But there was no way that was going to those socks were going to drop.
Oh, so I was going to say no one saw the socks. Okay.
No.
Okay.
No.
Priorities. That's really important.
I know.
Okay, let's talk about the show. So it's tonight, the Friday night, Saturday night. Friday night sold out, I understand,
Yep.
correct? Mm-hmm. So a few tickets for tomorrow night. So tell people what they need to do if they want to get a ticket for tomorrow.
They need to go on the website and purchase the ticket. I think Siobhan posted something today.
Yeah.
They need to do it like by tonight, I think, because they're not going to take any more reservations, I don't think, after tonight for tomorrow. Because there's so many people now wanting to get in tonight. They can't get in.
Yeah. See, you can't wait till the last minute, people. You can't do that.
And I guess that's a thing they do.
So it's $20. Now, if you wait till if they have anything left for the door tomorrow, if there's anything left, you show up at the door, then it's $30.
Yeah,
and that's
cash.
Cash at the door. Collect. They don't add it to your tab. That's important for people to know. It's a separate thing. The
Right.
ticket price and the food is really good and very reasonable. And it's a great. If you haven't been there, it's a lovely, intimate little place. It's on 68300 Gay Resort Drive, which is actually if you know where the Revivals is on 111, it's back behind that. And it's really fun. And of course, the staff is wonderful. Eric, the owner, is wonderful. And you guys are singing with tracks, correct?
We are singing with tracks.
Yeah. And Siobhan, if you guys don't know Siobhan, she's just a trip. She's fabulous. She's very talented, singing her butt off, and just one of the most generous performers I've ever met. I think you feel the same way. Yeah,
I do. I just love her. Instantly, I had an instant connection with her.
Yeah, I know you guys are both.
And we just met.
Yeah.
We've only been together for 2 months.
Mm-hmm.
And we've hardly had rehearsals, so who knows what's going to happen tonight.
Yeah, anything could happen.
Anything, and usually it does.
Yeah. What do you do when you on downtime? What do you like to do on your downtime?
I love to play golf.
Okay.
When it's nice.
When it's not 118. Yeah.
Right.
Are you a good golfer?
I'm a decent golfer because I used to go with a golf pro, and so I didn't hit buckets of balls. I hit bushels of balls.
Okay.
So I'm decent for a girl.
Okay. What else? And do you like to swim? Don't you? I mean,
I swim every day. Yes, I do.
Yeah.
That's just part of my exercise.
Yeah. Well, Kitty Murray Willensky, the show is called Hell on Heels with Siobhan Velarde at Runway. Tonight sold out. Still a few tickets tomorrow night. You better get there fast. Just in case, the phone number is 760-537-7800. I can't wait to see it coming Saturday. Thank you so much for being here. You're fabulous.
Thank you, honey, and I can't wait to see you tomorrow night.
All right. Stay cool. Have a great show. All right.
Thank you, baby.
We'll be back with more on the Culture Corner in just a bit.
The curtain rises on local and regional arts and entertainment. From music to theater, films to fine art, it's the Culture Corner. Get connected. Call 760-544-TALK. That's 760-544-8255. Here's Bonnie and Brian on iHub Radio.
So there's been a kind of a small controversy. It's not a big one, but it sort of leads into a good discussion about, I like to call it how much research is good enough for an interview. Now, I wanted to talk to Bonnie about this because she's done plenty of interviews. So, in this story, William Zabka, who plays Johnny on Karate Kid and eventually is now the lead character of Cobra Kai, in which it follows Johnny's journey after the Karate Kid movies. And he was in an interview with Mark Maron, who does WTF with Mark Maron, and they talked about his life, but for the most part, he openly admits in the interview that he's never seen the Karate Kid movie, the first one, and he's been watching Cobra Kai but isn't finished with it. But for the most part, the interview was about other details. Mm-hmm. So a lot of fans have been tweeting at him and talking to him about how they feel a little disappointed by his lack of research, or at least that's what they are claiming, that's the main criticism. Even one saying, I had to turn off the interview. It's like telling Francis Ford Coppola you've never watched The Godfather, WTF. And Mark Maron has defended himself, saying, we just had a conversation. That was the point. Mm-hmm. And William Zabka went ahead and said that for the most part, it was a great conversation. It was one of the more deeper interviews, even if the guy didn't see Karate Kid. Mm-hmm. So he was fine with it. So I wanted to ask you, Bonnie, about how much research is enough, or at least your thoughts on this story, or just in general your thoughts on when you get a celebrity on, how much research is enough for a conversation, and your thoughts on it, because I think in some ways you've called this like the Larry King method of not doing
because Larry King was famous for saying he never did any research at all. Of course, he somehow got away with it, but I think it's a really interesting question. I think in that particular story, I'm not sure I would have been quite as honest as he was. But again, with film and TV stuff, the interesting thing these days is you can like Google and go online or YouTube and find anything, even a snippet of something, even to watch, 5-10 minutes of something, it would be good. I think some of it depends on what the interview is about. Is it about a movie, a video? Is it about a book? I haven't read every book of every person I've ever, but at least I have a synopsis, some talking points. I know what the title is and what it's basically about. I think also sometimes it depends on the skill of the interviewer. Because if you have the basics, okay, the person's name, the name of the movie, director, or the book, or the synopsis, or whatever, and I have some talking points, if you are a good interviewer, you can still have a great conversation without necessarily having seen the entire movie, the entire book. I think it's good to do as much as you can. It certainly makes the interview. But if you are a good interviewer and ask good questions, then the person can give you and the listener some of the information that you might have gotten with more research. So I think it's a balancing act. I think you should do as much as you can, conceivably. Maybe not be quite that blatant, and I haven't never seen it. But develop your interviewing skills. Make sure you're asking good questions, so you're still making it interesting for the audience. The few interviews I've done, I've tried to do a lot of research. Like the first interview I ever did was for Jade Pettyjohn, who starred in Destroyer. I did an interview of her for Flicks and Picks, the show that I used to do. And what I did was I saw Destroyer that same night, and I went ahead before then. I watched a couple episodes of a TV show she was on, and I watched like a little bit of a movie that she was on. Mm-hmm. And I did see the movie, the American Girl movie, which I thought was okay, but I realized that maybe she didn't want to really talk about that too much. So I think in that case I over-prepared for it. And sometimes, and then you can do that too. Sometimes I have to kind of tell you a really quick story about this. Back in another station I was working on years ago, I did some research. Now that's the other thing is when you go on Google online, sometimes the information isn't always accurate.
Oh yeah, that's true.
So and this person's no longer with us, so I can speak too. I interviewed on the phone Frank Sinatra Jr., who was going to headline at he's passed away now, he was going to headline at the Frank Sinatra Golf Tournament. And I went online and Googled all this stuff. And one of the things, of course I knew something about him anyway, but one of the things that I was in the research online was that as a child he had studied the violin, which I thought was interesting. So he's on the phone. He was a little prickly. I was on the phone and I said, at one point I said, and now I understand as a child you studied the violin. No. And it was like, oh, I'm sorry, it was in my because it was online, I don't know what, but so sometimes your research is wrong, and it depends on the person you're with. So it ended up being okay, but he was just a little prickly in general. But.
And for me, I actually think I made a similar mistake on the interview, and I don't think if you went back and saw the interview, you might notice that I edited out, which, a little dishonest, but it works. I was going to say, I edited out the part where I asked Jade Pettyjohn, so you went to school for acting. And she said, I never went to school. I've never done any training. And I was like, oopsie daisy.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you can hear me say oopsie daisy, my bad. And I deleted that part, and I thought it was like, I laugh at it because, to be honest with you, like, I did over research, but I think some advice I would give anybody who's interviewing or starting out like I was, I guess I still am, I would say to them, don't over research, like do some
enough
research.
To ask some good questions.
Yeah. And I do believe, like, in the case, like you said, it's case by case on your skills. If you can carry on a conversation without seeing the movie, then do it. But if you have to, do your research. And I think it doesn't hurt to just know who you're talking to. But
absolutely.
Hey, we have someone coming up.
Yeah, a couple of filmmakers from the Short Fest coming up in just a bit.
You're listening to Bonnie Gilgallon and Brayan Mendoza, talking arts and entertainment on iHub Radio's The Culture Corner. Live from the desert cities of Southern California, here's Brayan and Bonnie.
And we're back on the Culture Corner, and we've got two filmmakers from the upcoming Short Fest, Palm Springs Short Fest, June 22nd through the 28th at the Palm Springs Cultural Center. For tickets, you can call 760-322-2930 or go to psfest.org/2021-shortfest. First, we have Marlena Skrobe, who is the director of They Keep Quiet, So We Make Noise, which sounds fascinating. Hi, Marlena. Welcome to the show.
Hi, how are you doing? Thanks so much for having me on.
Sure. So tell us about your film.
Yeah, absolutely. So They Keep Quiet, So We Make Noise is actually my first film, and it's a documentary short that follows environmental activists in Malaysia that are fighting to keep plastic pollution from taking over their town.
Wow. And so what made you decide to choose that as your topic?
Yeah, in undergrad, I went to the University of Miami, and I studied journalism and marine affairs, which I know sounds like sort of a nebulous focus. But basically, I'm really fascinated with how people are connected to the environment and the inequities that arise with our dependence on the environment. And so I went to grad school at the University of Washington. I'm here in Seattle. And got a research position while I was a grad student studying waste theory and the global waste trade. And to get really dive into the waste issue, basically for years, the world, especially developed rich nations, were sending their plastic and waste to China to be so-called recycled. And then in 2018, China said, nope, not going to take that waste anymore. We can't really handle it. It's not working out. And that waste was sent elsewhere. And one of those locations was Malaysia.
Wow.
So all of a sudden, you have this influx of waste, being smuggled in and at the time sent legally. So this one town started smelling the burnt plastic waste, and they didn't know where it was coming from. And they found over 13,000 tons of waste that had been dumped in their small residential town.
Wow. So tell me about how many people are involved in the film. How long a process was it? Is this your first film, or are you a veteran?
This is my first film. I've worked in production for the past 10 years as a casting director and in the camera department as a film loader. So I've had some experience working on other incredible projects, but this is my first film, and I made it with my life partner, who is the film cinematographer Troy Dopperton, who will be joining me at the festival as well this upcoming week. Yeah.
And is this? And I apologize. So is this more of a documentary, or it's a dramatic story?
This is a documentary.
Okay.
We're going to be playing in the Doing My Part section on Friday, June 25th, with other great journalistic documentary films. And to make the film, basically, Troy and I went to Malaysia 2 years ago and spent a few days with the activists, following them and learning about how they, do their work, grassroots environmental justice. And then we edited it with their help because we wanted to make sure that the story we were telling was accurate and reflecting the issue as it involved. Yeah, because it's definitely an ongoing issue. We're still sending plastics to Malaysia and other countries, and they're still working really hard.
Yeah. Was this the whole experience? Was it tougher than you expected, longer than you expected, or how did the experience play out versus what you were expecting to make your own film?
That's a good question. I tried not to have too many expectations. I went to Malaysia also I'm working on another film about plastic, and I just wanted to learn about their struggles. I think the hardest part was, we only had a few days with them just for logistical reasons, and I wanted to make sure we were doing their story justice and getting information out that, conveyed what they were going through, but hopefully will also help provide some change and improve their lives, and not just educate people, but I think really we need some strong political change in how we deal with waste and sort of the inequities that arise because of our mass consumption. Yeah.
Did you have any pushback, anybody that wasn't too happy about you making this documentary?
Oh, yeah. I mean, there are people that own recycling facilities that are illegally running in Malaysia and elsewhere, of course. But when we were filming, they were not happy about us exposing what was going on. And I think, we were on there for a few days. I think the activists put their lives on the line every day. Yeah. And, we have the privilege to come back and be safe here. And that's something I'm thinking about as well, as more people are learning about their story. I just want to make sure that also everyone is safe as we tell their story.
Yeah. Wow. Well, They Keep Quiet So We Make Noise. What a great title for this documentary. Marlena Skrobe. It's part of the Short Fest, PS Short Fest. psfest.org/2021-shortfest. We've got another filmmaker on, so we've got to run here. But congratulations. That sounds like a wonderful project to take on, and I hope it does real well. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you so much.
All right.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. All right. We're going to switch over to Cole Bacani. And his film is called Everything Stays. Hi, Cole. How are you? Do we lose him? Uh-oh.
Oh, I think we're going to go catch him.
Did we lose Cole?
Let me go ahead and see if I can catch him.
Okay. Cole Bacani, and then it's the synopsis of his film. As the summer after high school graduation winds down, Gabe's cousins have one last chance to tie him down in Illinois, forcing Gabe to decide what's more important, his family or his future. So it's in competition for Young Cineastes Award, sounds like Young Cinematographer's Award kind of thing. We'll talk to him in just a second. We have Cole. Hi, Cole. How are you? Is Cole there? Hi, Cole.
Let's see.
Hi, Cole.
Cole, are you there?
Did we lose him?
Oh, yes, I'm right here.
There he is. Okay. So welcome to the Culture Corner. Tell us a little bit about your film.
Yeah, thanks so much. Thanks for having me. My film is titled Everything Stays, and it's a dramatic narrative I wrote based off of my actual family, and it follows a character named Gabe, who's the first one in this giant Filipino-American family to really leave home. All of his cousins are trying really hard to convince him to stay.
And was this autobiographical a little bit, did you say?
Yeah, it's semi-autobiographical. I don't like to say it's completely autobiographical because obviously it's a scripted piece of work, but a lot of it's based off of my actual life and being the first one in this giant family to really leave home to pursue some pretty big dreams out in LA.
So tell me about the cast and how was it a bigger more work than you expected? How long did it take, or what was the experience like for you?
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. So I just graduated from USC's film school out in LA, and we attempted to film this out in my hometown in Illinois last summer. So didn't even know if it happened because of the pandemic, but luckily we found a lot of safe ways to make it happen. The Screen Actors Guild gave us some really nice safety guidelines to abide as well, which helped the whole cast and crew feel pretty safe during the pandemic. And yeah, we flew the whole crew out to my hometown where we casted pretty much almost all of my cousins and a few real actors to portray my family. And the real actors portrayed me and a few of my other cousins who had a lot of speaking roles, but it was a lot of fun because those actors and the crew had to quarantine with my giant family for a month.
Wow.
In one giant family by the end of the whole film.
Now I had. Go ahead. I'm sorry, Bonnie. Go ahead. You had a question, or
no? Go, Brian. Go.
So I wanted to ask you, since you said that even though like it's a work of fiction and there's always biographical elements in a lot of filmmakers, you know, and all that. But so I wanted to ask. I've always wanted to ask a filmmaker this, and I guess that's my opportunity to do so. But so you actually have an actor who plays a character that is more or less a composite or based on you. So I was curious, was there any acting decisions that the actor had made, or any actor disagreements or discussions where you felt like you had to kind of step in and say, hey, that's not what I would do, or hey, this is what I would do? Or did you ever feel like a connection with the actor, something like that?
Yeah. So actually finding the perfect person to portray the character that kind of was supposed to be me was the second hardest part outside of trying to shoot this during a pandemic, because we went through so many different like Facebook groups, casting sites, and I wanted to make sure I actually found someone that I felt like could portray me. And, you know, by the end of it, the person I casted was someone who I felt like had a very similar personality. And, like, I'm always super collaborative with my actors. Like, I don't need to finish writing the dialogue, so I've, like, heard my actors say it their own way. So, yeah, never had any disagreements on set, and I think he did a really good job. Probably made me look cooler than I am in real life.
So, I was wondering, was your family 100% supportive of this project?
Yeah, so actually, you know, even though it's based off of this story where, like, the family really doesn't want to leave Illinois, which is also very true. They're all really sad and trying to tie me down to the suburbs. But once I finally got out to LA and, like, started making films, they've always been they were my biggest fans and still are.
Tell me about the in competition for Young Cineastas. Is that how I pronounce Cineastas Award? I'm assuming that means basically young cinematographers, kind of. Tell me about that.
Yeah, it's exciting. I got to meet a lot of the filmmakers, and it was exciting to see that a lot of them aren't my age. A lot of them are much older, so I'm excited to learn a lot from them and get to meet them and see their films and talk about their processes. Because, yeah, it's not the first film I've directed, but, like, it's my first film that I've directed outside of college because I just graduated 2020. So I'm excited to meet a lot, because also a lot of the filmmakers that I got to meet during a networking event at Palm Springs hosted have had a few films in Palm Springs already, so I'm just excited to learn a lot from the filmmakers next week.
Excellent. And so what, tell me what, are you in a certain category? There are different categories in the Short Fest, correct, for the films?
Right, yes. Everything Stays, our film is going to be screening Saturday, June 26th, in the Things We Do for Love category.
Interesting.
Now, I wanted to actually ask you, since I actually read about some of your influences, what are some lessons that you learned? Because I know that even in your Instagram, you said that you learned a lot from the film. What are some lessons you learned from some of your influences, like Greta Gerwig and Lulu Wang? And some of the and how do they connect to the lessons you've learned while making the film? Like, I know it's easy to like look at a film by another filmmaker and say, I want to do something like that or something like that. But what are some lessons you've learned, practical and through the admiring lessons in admiration and practicality? And do they intersect for you?
Yeah, I think they totally intersect. But to kind of tackle the first part of your question, yeah, Lulu Wang and Greta Gerwig are two of my biggest inspirations because they also made two very personal films. Greta directed Lady Bird, and Lulu directed The Farewell, which are both based off of their actual lives too. And, you know, I just found that, like, through their filmmaking and, like, other friends, that the more specific you can be about a story, the more relatable it ends up being to everybody else. So, you know, even, like, during the whole filmmaking process, I let a lot of my cousins, like, ad-lib during a lot of the scenes and kind of just be themselves, which made for, like, even more realistic scenes than I could ever write. The film ended up being a product of, like, improv from my cousins and them just being themselves. And, like, since the actors got to live with them a month beforehand, their chemistry on screen was all real. And, like, I would say, like, maybe a little under a half of it is kind of just them being together and us standing back and recording and then making sure we captured the scripted parts along the way.
Well, Cole Bacani, we wish you the best. Everything Stays. He's part of the Short Fest. Again, the website is psfest.org/2021-shortfest. It's at the Palm Springs Cultural Center, June 22nd through the 28th. Thank you also to Marlena Skrobe. Her film is They Keep Quiet, So We Make Noise. Congratulations to both you guys, and best of luck to you in the future. Thank you so much for being with us today.
Thanks so much for having me.
All right, congratulations. Check out the Short Fest, you guys. There's so much going on in town. All right, we'll be back with more on the Culture Corner in a moment.
You're listening to Bonnie Gilgallon and Brayan Mendoza, talking arts and entertainment on iHub Radio's The Culture Corner. Here are Bonnie and Brayan.
Now we're moving on to the theater segment. We're going to talk a little bit about theater in this segment. The first person is Andrew Lloyd Webber. So Boris Johnson is apparently going to be talking to Andrew Lloyd Webber about opening up Cinderella. I know last week we talked about how Andrew Lloyd Webber was really wanting to open up Cinderella for the whole world to see. But now, despite the lockdown delay, there's a good chance that they might just go ahead and proceed as planned, and that Cinderella may, and this is still speculation, may become a pilot scheme to see where if they can have a show without social distancing. So I wanted to get your thoughts on this further development. Do you think that the government is doing, for the UK government, is showing preference toward Andrew Lloyd Webber? I think they are.
Well, it sounds, I mean, are they going to let any other theater person do this? I mean, the other director do it? I mean, England's numbers aren't that great right now.
No,
I don't think,
not.
Right?
And it's surprising because in England they were, more or less like about as strict as us. And so I was kind of surprised that they just went ahead and decided to just go ahead with it. And I think in my case, Andrew Lloyd Webber is one of those people that he does have the power to kind of be influential in England. Yeah.
And you got to wonder about that a little bit. I don't know. That's a tough question. It really is.
I think for me, like, I would like to see an Andrew Lloyd Webber show succeed because I think he does good work sometimes, not always. And I'm curious about Cinderella, but I also think like I kind of wish he would hold off a little bit until other shows can do it. And I get that his shows are expensive and they require full capacity to make money, but I'm almost thinking that, well, I almost would hope that that a delay wouldn't hurt, just a tiny delay.
Yeah, it's not like Andrew Lloyd Webber starving, and I don't know about the people in his cast, but yeah, I mean, I tend to agree that I don't think waiting a little longer would hurt that much.
No, I agree with that. And so another part of Broadway is the Nanny musical is coming soon to Broadway.
Fran Drescher.
That's exactly the source of it. Fran Drescher said that a musical version of it is going to be coming very soon to Broadway. She hasn't given us any hints about it. She said that there could be that it's coming, that it's going to be arriving soon, but there is going to be some people speculated that it might not happen right when Broadway reopens, but that there'll be a period of time where that show will premiere, maybe a little bit later down the line, maybe next year. But I wanted to get your thoughts. Do you think The Nanny could work as a musical?
Possibly. I mean, you never know. I mean, it's the kind of thing where it might work and surprise us all, or it could be a big bomb. I mean, who knows?
That's true. Like, who knew that a musical based on a fairly standard history book called Hamilton.
Oh, Hamilton! Nobody thought that was gonna.
Because when I read the book, it was fairly standard bio book, and I thought, you know what? It's not a terrible book. It's just, it's pretty typical for these types of historical books. And then the musical is like this rap.
Well, yeah, and the rap, when you throw a rap musical about Alexander Hamilton, really? I mean, I don't think anybody expected it to do what it's done.
And in some cases, like, I think that there's been this tendency I've noticed recently that, from what I've noticed, is that there's been a trend towards something the musical, like some blank property, the musical.
Right. Yeah.
And so for me, I'm not cynical about it anymore. I used to be cynical, like, a musical based on Mean Girls, please. And then it does really well. A musical based on SpongeBob SquarePants, which surprisingly is really relevant. Surprisingly.
Well, although there are some things, like, serious stuff, like I don't see Truman Capote's In Cold Blood, the musical. When you're talking about murder, I don't think that's going to happen.
No, of course not. And even then, it would have to be satirical, almost like... Yeah. Or in the case of like Les Miserables, where it was serious, but part of the deal is that it is very emotional.
Historical, yeah.
And in the case of The Nanny, I think it has potential to be a musical. I actually don't think the voice like whoever's going to play the Fran Drescher part. I don't think the voice is going to be a bothersome because like SpongeBob SquarePants is also famous for having not annoying but a certain kind of voice. And yet the actor who plays SpongeBob and all the actors on Broadway have been able to do it. So I think that regardless of some concerns that may be plaguing that production, I think that there's a good chance it might be successful because it has a fan base. And also because I think that The Nanny, you know, if they can tell like 1.5 hour stories, I think they can tell a whole musical. I think there might be a possibility. Yeah.
And let's talk about this Places Please project. I love this.
So Places Please project is going to be offering up to $500,000 in rent relief to New York City theater workers. So, and they don't define these by anything other than artists, designers, musicians, technicians, administrators. They will be giving out rental assistant grants to the workers who are currently living in New York, and even those who are leaving the city because of the pandemic and are struggling to come back. So,
and did people have to apply for this? And then do different people get different amounts? Do you know anything like that?
I think the idea is that you apply for it and you sort of give, like, you get approved for a certain amount, depending on
where you're living and how much you pay and all that. Yeah.
Yeah. And they're trying to, and the idea is that what happened was that a part of it was also that there was this donor, anonymous donor, who actually decided to contribute more to the project. So they decided to match dollar, and then eventually went up to 500,000. And I think this is great because I think me and you have talked about the idea of legislation coming in and trying to give help towards these theater workers. And I think because they work in theater, people laugh it off as, well, that's the job you picked, right? But it's so unfair because people who work in the arts should be able to eat and afford rent.
Because, and the other thing is, and we've talked about this before, in the pandemic or any serious time, but you think about back in the Depression, if you're coming out of something like this, one thing people need is entertainment and to be uplifted and to think about something other than grim reality. And these are the people that give it to you. So,
and also I think it's great that they're giving money to people who don't live in New York because it's hard enough coming back. I mean, there's recently this controversy about the CEO of a corporation, I'm not going to say it, JP Morgan, who said, if you live in another state and you work for me, you have to come back to New York. And it's very threatening. And I like the fact that they understand that this organization understands that these people have to come back to New York. So they're giving that money to have them come back and be able to be comfortable. And I think that's something that's been overlooked in pandemic assistance. And I appreciate that. So I really love this. And I hope that if you live in New York and listening to the show and you're a theater actor,
check it out.
You got to
go apply
because you never know you never know how much help you can get.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much again to all of our guests: Donna Rolfe, Marlena Skrobe, Cole Bacani, and of course my buddy Kitty Murray Willensky, who break a leg. Thank you so much, everybody. Stay cool, stay safe. Check on your pets. Don't walk your pets when it's this hot. Check on elderly neighbors. Stay cool, stay safe. And we'll see you next week.
And be kind to someone this week.
Yes.
So, have a great day, everybody.